I learned a couple of things when I was in Palestine. I was about 18. One, I learned that Israel was an apartheid state and that we need to do something about that. But while I was there, I was working in the desert, and we were growing tomatoes and melons, all sorts. But one of the interesting things, and it's always stuck with me, is when the farmers were producing the tomatoes for the European export market, each morning we'd bring massive bags of chemicals and pour them into these big vats. Because they were being exported, you needed chemicals to keep them solid, so that they could be transported huge distances to Europe and would still look good at the other end. And then you had the nice tomatoes, beautiful tomatoes, where no chemicals went into them, which were produced for the local market. And they were absolutely gorgeous. They didn't look exactly the same as the ones you get when you go to the shelves here, but they were the tasty ones. And there was no chemicals in them at all. I should say, I learned something else. The rotten melons produced by this Israeli farm were sent to Gaza. I learned that as well. But there's a very important lesson in that little experience. And it relates to the discussion myself and Breed had with farmers the other day, where they, and it's been highlighted by the Ukraine crisis, we were feeding the world, and then we discovered actually when the Ukraine crisis comes, we're not actually feeding the world. We grow a lot of cows, and we export them, and we export a lot of dairy-related products, but actually we could be in danger of not being able to feed ourselves, or even be able to feed the cows, because we don't grow enough grain, and don't grow enough food and vegetables, and so on, right? And the fact that we import these things and they're transported all across the world means more chemicals, more plastic, more fumes being exhumed and so on, more waste, more destruction of the environment, rather than diversifying agriculture here to produce stuff locally, so you don't need loads of chemicals, you don't need loads of plastic, you don't need loads of packaging, and so on, right? So diversifying agriculture would give us food security, it would reduce waste, it would give actually a more certain existence for farmers and so on, but we'd have to support our farmers in doing it. So I just say that as one important point. And that, you see, is the logic of the way neoliberal capitalism operates. And I know people don't like it when you use these slogans, but that is the truth, right? The way capitalism operates, it specialises in the production of cheap products on massive scales for exports to the market, not for production for need at a localised level. And the consequences are disastrous for the environment. I'll give you another simple example. When I was young, probably when the cow was young as well, you used to get the milk delivered by the milkman. And it was in glass bottles. And you left the empty bottles out every day, and those bottles were reused and reused and reused and reused and reused. When I worked in the Netherlands, they used to do the same with beer bottles. So when you bought your Heineken or your Amstel, you had to bring it back to the shop where you bought it, and then you buy more, and you got money back when you brought it back, and they were using the bottles again and again and again and again. Right, and then what happened? We got Tetra Pak, massive amounts of cartons, which is complete waste of resources. Why? Because somebody was able to make money out of it. And it was because it was all about the commodification of these things rather than actually doing things in a rational way. Last point I just want to make is, listen, it's all very well talking about the circular economy. By the way, I'm for it. I'm just stressing that we're letting loose the forces that are destroying the circular economy. But the last point is, you have to give local authorities the staffing, the resources and the infrastructure in order to have it. And OCN knows this from our area. We don't have anything near like the staff in the cleansing department. You have to fight to get a bin. a massive fight to get a bin anywhere. And we don't have anything like the resources necessary in the local authorities to provide the recycling, reuse, and so on that we would need to have a meaningful circular economy.
Thank you very much.